Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Today is my final installment in my deep dive into the 2024 Senate election series. This video focuses on the state of Pennsylvania and its Senate race, where Democratic incumbent Senator Bob Casey is facing a very tough challenge from Republican challenger Dave McCormick. This has been a race that has been honestly very surprisingly close, even though the presidential level Pennsylvania is seen as a very close state, one of the closest in the country. Early on in the election cycle, it was seen as Bob Casey would not have too much of a problem in this race, likely winning by over 5% of the vote. In the last few weeks, this race has gotten very close, and it's now looking like it's going to be under 3 to 4% margin of victory on election night. So very close now. Looking at some voting history for Pennsylvania, in 2022, the last time there was a Senate race in this seat, this was now Senator John Fetterman going up against Republican Mehmet Oz, Dr. Oz. This was a win by Fetterman by 4.9%, so Pennsylvania was Democrat plus 4.9. In 2018, the last time Bob Casey was on the ballot, he won re-election by 13.1%. Margin of victory, certainly a very impressive and large win. In 2016, that was the last time a Republican won a Senate race in Pennsylvania statewide. That was then Senator Pat Toomey. He won by 1.4%, and that was a seat that flipped blue in 2022 when Toomey did not run for re-election. 1.4% win for Toomey there. As for the current polling average of the averages right now that I'll be using later on in the video, Bob Casey currently has 47.4%. Dave McCormick has 45.5%. That is a lead right now for Casey of about 1.9% across all the averages. Looking at the national Senate margins across the entire country in these elections, in 2022, the overall Senate map, where all the votes were added up for both parties, Republicans led by 0.1% nationwide. In 2018, Democrats led by 19.9% nationwide. And in 2016, Democrats led 10.8% nationwide. That is an average of 10.2% across these three Senate election years. It's also worth noting that the current congressional party preference poll on Real Clear Politics does have Republicans favored by 0.8%. That'll probably have more of an effect on the House races than the Senate races, but I still wanted to mention that as that's the only really comparable data we have for 2024 to go off of. As for how Pennsylvania voted in these elections compared to the national Senate vote, with Fetterman's 4.9% win in 2022, this means Pennsylvania voted 5 points more Democratic than the national Senate vote as a whole. In 2018, Pennsylvania voted 6.8% more Republican than the national Senate vote as a whole. And in 2016, Pennsylvania voted 12.2% more Republican than the Senate vote as a whole. That is between 2016 and 2022, an average of Republican plus 4.7%. To the right, Pennsylvania voted Republican plus 4.7 of all the national Senate polls, or Senate percent. And between 2018 and 2022, Pennsylvania voted about 0.9% more Republican than the national Senate map as a whole. So I don't know if that's a sign of things to come, but that would suggest Pennsylvania has gone less Republican in the last two Senate elections than it has been in the past three. Maybe that's the beginning of a trend. We're going to have to wait and see after Election Day on 2024. Looking now at the two candidates in this race, the first candidate is Democratic incumbent Senator Bob Casey. I believe he's now running for either his third or fourth term in the U.S. Senate. I believe it's his third term. Or no, I think it might be his fourth term. Either way, Democratic incumbent Senator Bob Casey, he's facing off against Republican challenger Dave McCormick, who you may remember did run for Senate back in 2022, narrowly losing the Republican primary to Dr. Mehmet Oz. This is his second run for Senate. He was able to win the primary this time, and he's running statewide against Bob Casey. Looking at some Senate forecasts for the state of Pennsylvania, Real Clear Politics and Cook Political Report both have this race listed as a toss-up, whereas Sabadell's Crystal Ball, 538, and Decision Desk HQ in the Hill have it as lean for Senator Casey. The polling averages right now in this race, Real Clear Politics has Casey leading by 1.4%, 538 has Casey leading by 3.2%, 270 to win has Casey up by 1%, and Decision Desk HQ in the Hill has Casey up by 2%. That is an average across these polling averages of 1.9% lead for Casey. That would be more than the 1%, which would be tilt and under, and is also less than 5%, which would be likely. That puts this race in the lean Democratic result based on the 1.9%. Some key counties to watch for in Pennsylvania. Looking at the top 10 most populous county in the state of Pennsylvania. First, you're going to have to start with Philadelphia. This is obviously the largest county in the state. In 2022, which was a midterm year, it got over 499,000 votes just from Philadelphia. And this is going to be one of the largest Democratic vote centers, both in Pennsylvania and in the entire country, on election night in the presidential race and likely in the Senate race as well. In 2022, which again was about a 5-point Democrat win statewide, Pennsylvania voted 67% in favor of the Democrat. In 2018, which is again about a 13% win statewide for the Democrat, Pennsylvania voted 74.8% for the Democrat for Bob Casey. In 2016, which is about a little over a 1.5 or a little under 1.5% Republican win statewide, Philadelphia voted 64.8%. So just that margin of 2% difference could be an indicator that if Dave McCormick is able to get similar numbers in 2016, that could be a sign he is performing very well statewide and could be in a position to potentially win this seat. If we have Bob Casey getting close to his 2018 numbers or even above Fetterman's 2022 numbers in Philadelphia, that could be a sign that Casey is likely outperforming the polls and expectations and could be winning by an even larger margin. So the margins in Philadelphia are very important to watch. The second largest county in the state is Allegheny County. This is where the city of Pittsburgh is. This had over 573,000 votes in 2022, which actually had more than Philadelphia, despite the fact that it is a smaller county in total population than Philadelphia is. 2022, this was a 28.5% win. 2018, this was a 33.1% win. And in 2016, this is only a 14.8% win. Another one where the margins of victory in Allegheny County are going to be very, very important to watch. If McCormick is getting close to the 2016 margins, that would be a very good sign for him. If Casey's getting close to the 2022 or 2018 margins, that would be a sign he is polling very well in a very Democratic area and could be in line to win re-election. Next, we have Montgomery County. This is a county that's a suburb of Philadelphia, had over 412,000 votes cast in 2022 for the total votes, and the Democrat won very handily here, where in 28.4% margin of victory for Fetterman in 2022, a 31.9% victory for Casey in 2018, and then 11.1% victory in 2016. Again, another example of the margins in this county are very, very important. If a county like Montgomery is only voting 11 or 12% for Bob Casey on election night, we're going to have a very clear idea early on that Dave McCormick is doing what he needs to do in a Democratic likely suburb or safe suburb like Montgomery. If it's a likely or a lean Democratic county, that is a sign Dave McCormick is likely on his way to potentially winning this race or making it extremely close. If we're seeing numbers similar to 2018 to 2022, that would be a sign Casey is likely on his way to winning this race. Montgomery County is a suburb, very, very important one to watch for. Next, we have Bucks County. This is the fourth largest county in Pennsylvania. It had over 314,000 votes in 2022. This is an interesting county because in 2022, it was won by Fetterman by 7.4%. 2018, it was won by Casey by 14%, but it was won in 2016 by Pat Toomey, the Republican, by 5.3%. And this is definitely one of the more, I would say, contested counties we're going to see here because given its size and population as the fourth largest county in the state, if we see this county go red on election night, that likely is a very good sign for Dave McCormick that he's in play at realistically winning this race. If he only wins the county by 0.1%, I don't know if that's enough to say for sure McCormick is going to win, but if he is winning this county, that's a very good sign he's overperforming what Fetterman did in 2022, which would be very, very bad news for Casey. But it needs to be pointed out that Fetterman did win it by 7.4, and Casey won it by 14, so I'm not expecting this county to go red, but if it is going red, that would be a good sign to watch for McCormick. Delaware County, fifth largest county in the state, had over 250,000 votes in 2022. This was a 28-point win in 2022, a 31.4% win in 2018, and a 12.6% win in 2016. Once again, we're watching the margins here to see how much Casey wins this county by. If it's closer to 18 to 22, that means he's probably in good position to win re-election. If it's 2016 numbers, he is in for potentially a very long night where McCormick may end up winning. Lancaster, this is going to be a more Republican-friendly area of over 224,000 votes from 2022. It was a 13-point win, 13.4% win in 22 for the Republican, Dr. Oz. 2018, the Republican candidate, I believe his name is Lou Barletta, got 8.4%. In 2016, Pat Toomey won it by 21.8%. For McCormick to really do well and win this election, he's likely going to need to get similar to the 2016 margins to have a realistic shot at winning statewide in a county like Lancaster. Next, we go to Chester County. I believe this is the 7th largest county in the state of Pennsylvania, having over 257,000 votes in 2022. This is another interesting area because there was a 17% win in 2022 for John Fetterman, 20% win for Bob Casey in 2018, but a 2.3% win for Pat Toomey in 2016. This would be an important one to watch to see what the margins of victory are in this county. If this is a safe Democratic county, that would mean, again, Casey is doing very well. If it is a Republican county or very, very close to a Republican county, that would be a sign McCormick is likely outperforming the polls and expectations and could be in a position to win. Next, we have York County. York County, over 186,000 votes in 2022. This should be a Republican stronghold. The question will be what the margins of victory are. A 20% win in 2022, 15.8% in 2018, and 27.6% in 2016. Again, McCormick's slightly going to need close to 2016 numbers if he's going to be able to try and win the state of Pennsylvania. Berks County. Berks County, this is going to be one of the more close bellwether ones to watch for on election night, as in 2016, it was a 10.3% win for Pat Toomey. 2018, Bob Casey won it by 3.8%. In 2022, Dr. Oz won it by 4.3%. And I think McCormick, if he's going to win Pennsylvania, he needs to get close to the 2016 numbers, if not exceed them, as Democratic turnout could be better given Bob Casey's incumbency advantage in places like Philadelphia, Allegheny, and Montgomery, and potentially even Delaware. Berks is going to be one. McCormick needs to get 2016 numbers to really stay competitive. And lastly, the 10th largest county in the state is Lehigh. Lehigh County, which had about 136,000 votes casted in 2022. This was a 10-point win in 2022 for Fetterman, a 16.4% win in 2018, and only a 0.6% win for the Democrat in 2016. This is a county that I think will also be a very good tell-all sign, depending on how close this is. Could be a sign in how things are going for Dave McCormick particularly. Bob Casey, if he's performing close to his 2018 to 2022 numbers, I think he's looking very good at a chance to win. If it's a 0.6% race like it was in 2016 in Lehigh, that's certainly not going to be very good news for him and good news for McCormick. So those are just 10 counties I wanted to point out. There is a bunch of other ones I want to point out as well in Pennsylvania because, there's so many people, 19 electoral votes in the state of Pennsylvania at the presidential level. A lot of people live in this state and the counties around the state. Just some other counties I want to mention: Westmoreland County, Luzerne County, Northampton, Dauphin, Cumberland County, Erie, Lackawanna County, Washington, Butler, Monroe. There's so many counties in Pennsylvania that I could go over, and I could do like an hour-and-a-half video going over all of them. But in the sake of time, we're going to move forward and just with those 10 and look at the state county map. Where in 2022, John Fetterman, the Democratic candidate, got 51.3%. Dr. Mehmet Oz got 46.3%. And this is a state that was very, very close. The polls showed it being very close. Fetterman ended up winning it by 4.9, which was actually larger than the polls expected him to win by. Allegheny County right here, again, this is Pittsburgh, 63.4 to 35, a win for Fetterman. York County right here, 58.8 to 38.6, that was a win for Oz. Lancaster right next door, 55.6 to 42.1, a win for Oz. Berks County, northeast of Lancaster, 50.4 to 46.1, a win for Oz. Chester County right below it, 57.2 to 40.3, a win for Fetterman. Delaware County to the east of it, 62.9, 34.8, a win for Fetterman. Philadelphia right next to that, 82.7, 15.7, a big win for Fetterman. Montgomery County, 63 to 34.7, a win for Fetterman. And Bucks County right here, 52.4 to 45, suburban win for Fetterman. And Lehigh, 53.6, 43.5, a win for Fetterman. This is what a race in Pennsylvania will look like, where it's a close competitive race, but the Democrat is going to win. You look at areas like Lehigh, Bucks, Dauphin, Center, Northampton, Monroe. These areas as likely Democratic, over 5%, under 15%. These areas in a close race the Republicans win either have to be very, very lean Democratic or light Democratic, or potentially even going Republican. This was a close race statewide, but Fetterman was able to do what he had to in the Philadelphia area and the surrounding suburbs around it like Bucks, like Montgomery, like Chester, like Lehigh, like Northampton. Berks was a good win for Oz, but likely needed a larger Republican win in an area like that to win the state. So that was 2022. Looking at 2018, where this was pretty much a massive Democratic win for Bob Casey against Republican Lou Barletta. I don't think we're going to be seeing this on election night, and seeing as it's going to be a lot less of a Democratic wave year and Democratic nation as a whole than it was in 2018, but still a very big win the last time Bob Casey was on the ballot. Allegheny County of 65.7 to 32.6, a win for Casey. York County 56.8 to 41, a win for Barletta. Lancaster 53.1, 44.7, a win for Barletta. Berks County going blue this time, 51 to 47.2, a win for Casey. Chester County 59.2 to 39, a win for Casey. Delaware 65, 33.6, a win for Casey. Philadelphia 86.8 to 12, a win for Casey. Montgomery 65.2, 33.3, a win for Casey. Bucks County 56.2 to 42.2, a win for Casey. And lastly, Lehigh right here, 57.3 to 40.9. That was 2018. Looking at 2016, the last time a Republican won a Senate race in Pennsylvania, incumbent Senator Pat Toomey got 48.8%. The Democratic Challenger McGinty got 47.3%. This is a very, very close race, about a 1.5% margin of victory for Toomey. And as I mentioned, look at the areas where surrounding Philadelphia, Toomey was able to win. Bucks County, Northampton, Lehigh was very, very close to flipping. Berks was more of a likely Republican state or county than a lean one, and Chester was lean Republican instead of lean to likely Democrat, and Delaware was also likely Democrat. If Dave McCormick is going to win on election night, he's very likely going to need to replicate this map, especially surrounding Philadelphia, where Bucks and Northampton are likely red, Berks is likely red, Chester is lean red, Lehigh is lean Dem, and even potentially Erie up here. I think there's possible McCormick could win without winning Erie, but it would certainly help his chances if he did win it. If he's not able to replicate this map, and Bucks, for example, is a likely Democratic county on election night, I think the math is just too much for McCormick to overcome, and it'll likely be a Casey win. So the surrounding Philadelphia suburbs, I think, is the most important area in the state to watch out for. Looking at Allegheny County, where 55.2% to 40.4, that was a win for McGinty. York County was 61.3 to 33.7, a win for Toomey. Lancaster 58.9 to 37.1, a win for Toomey. Berks County right here, 53.2 to 42.9, a win for Toomey. Chester County 49.4, 47.1, a very, very crucial win for Toomey. Delaware 55.6 to 43, a win for McGinty. Philadelphia 81.8 to 17, a win for McGinty. Montgomery 54.9 to 43.8, a win for McGinty, but a smaller win compared to other elections. Bucks County 51.8 to 46.5, a very, very important win for Pat Toomey. And Lehigh 48.2 to 47.6, a very close election, very important for Toomey to get those numbers as low as they were on the Democratic side. Looking now at the two political parties and how they've done in the last three Senate elections. In 2022, the Democrats got 51.3% with John Fetterman. 2018, Bob Casey got 55.7%. In 2016, the Democratic Challenger McGinty got 47.3%. That is an average across the last three elections of 51.4%. As for our 2024 estimated range, I took the highest total, 55.7, minus the lowest total of 47.3, got a difference of 8.4, and then added 8.4 to the high end and subtracted 8.4 from the low end of our numbers to get our 2024 estimated range, which found on the low end, the Democrats start out with 38.9% and get 64.1% on the high end. A larger range, but certainly one showing they are capable of getting below 50% and above 50%, signifying a very close race. The Republican side is very similar. In 2022, Dr. Oz got 46.3%. 2018, Lou Barletta got 42.6%. And 2016, Pat Toomey got 48.8%. That is an average vote across the last three elections of 45.9%. So in the average vote across the last three elections, the Democrats have an advantage over the Republicans in that department. As for the estimated range, once again, the highest total, 48.8, minus the lowest total, 42.6. That got a difference of 6.2, and then added 6.2 to the high end, subtracted 6.2 from the low end, and got our 2024 estimated range of 36.4 to 55. As this compares to the Democratic side, the Republicans start off but about 2.5% lower on the floor end and about 9 points less on the high end. So both Republicans and Democrats are capable of breaking 50%, meaning it is a very winnable race for both parties, but it does need to be pointed out the Democrats do start out with a slightly higher floor than the Republicans and do have a relatively significantly higher ceiling than the Republicans. This does not mean Dave McCormick could not win this race, but I think it does mean the Democrats, more likely than not, would win this. Out of say this happened 10 times, this would mean the Democrats would win it more times than they would lose it. So that's something just very important to note. As for my prediction for this Senate race for the state of Pennsylvania in this 2024 Senate election, I do have incumbent Senator Bob Casey winning re-election in the closest Senate race he has had in his political life as a senator in Pennsylvania. Casey gets 50.8%, Dave McCormick gets 48.4%, a margin of victory of 2.4%, which compared to his 13-point win in 2018 seems almost unfathomable if you said this back in 2018. But Dave McCormick has run a very strong race. Pennsylvania has been very, very close to the presidential level and has been close once again at the Senate level. But given Bob Casey's incumbency advantage and his father's name ID in his state, his name ID in the state, going back many, many years, I think that is enough to narrowly push him over the edge and give him another 6 years as senator from the state of Pennsylvania. With giving Pennsylvania to the Democratic Party and going over now all the Senate calls in Florida, Texas, Arizona, Nevada, Montana, Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, I have Republicans finishing the 2024 Senate map with 52 Senate seats. Democrats have 48. So Republicans do flip Senate control and now would be the majority in the United States Senate with 52. Democrats narrowly in the minority in the Senate with 48 Senate seats. That is my final deep dive into the 2024 Senate elections. I hope you enjoyed this series, and if you've not checked out the other seats besides this one, I have my playlist with all of them in there, so I hope you check those out, as they'll be a great watch for leading up through Election Day, and to come back to after Election Day, and we'll see how we did, see if we got close, or if we missed a few areas. Certainly very interesting to react to that. In the meantime, this has been the 2024 Pennsylvania Senate Election Deep Dive. Thank you so much for watching. That will do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to give it a like. And if you really liked it, please remember to click the subscribe button. And make sure you turn post notifications on so you always get notified when I post a new video. That way you never miss one. Also, please remember to share this video with your friends and family if you really like the video. And remember to stay tuned because I'll be posting at least one video every single day leading up until Election Day, so I'd really appreciate it if you keep coming back and watching those videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in a future video.